guys, Joe DeMarco from the Crazy New York Driver Show. Today is Friday, November the 7th, 2025. Welcome to another eBay video. I have a lot of good topics tonight that I think you're going to find very interesting. I'm going to be talking about some updates to some of my topics from last week, some things that have come to pass that are really going to surprise you. I want to talk about flaws in the return system, which has been an ongoing problem forever. I want to talk about taking deductions when you receive an item back that's not in the same condition that you sent it to the customer. This is something that rarely happens to me, but it happened this week, and truthfully, I wasn't surprised. I'm going to talk about that. I'm going to talk about unbelievably low offers. I'm also going to bring up why eBay cannot have a dispute button when people claim falsely item not as described. The importance of those of you who accept 30-day returns to stick to your guns. 30 days means 30 days, and a few other things. One thing I will tell you for a fact, you will not be bored with this video. I'm not going to do any cutaways because I really have a lot of material to cover. However, I will be working off my phone with some screenshots that I want to show you guys. So that being said, let's get right into all the topics right now. First, I want to talk about a return that's been giving me an issue. You may remember in last week's video, I told you about a guy who bought some Buick Riviera wire wheels, and he lied. The old man lied and said that they arrived damaged, but they didn't. He bought them damaged, and it clearly said it in the listing. eBay refused to do anything about it. So I have to pay the shipping both ways. But here's something weird that I found. When I went to give the guy the label back, I believe eBay used to have a clause. Now, if I'm wrong, tell me, but I don't think I am. Didn't they always say that when you accepted a return, you would never, ever have to pay more than you paid to originally ship the item? That's the way I remember it. Well, originally I shipped the item in a large box that I actually had to put two boxes together. It was like 18 by 18 by 18, and I shipped it with UPS because they were cheaper, of course, than the post office. So when I went to provide the label, I thought I would be given a UPS option. I was not. eBay did not give me a UPS option. They gave me a USPS option of $65. Way more than I paid to ship it to the customer. What a blatant ripoff. They also gave me a FedEx option, which was cheaper. Of course, I went with the FedEx option. But why was I not given a UPS option? Because that's the way I shipped the item to the buyer. I don't get this. Maybe it's something new. Maybe I've been living in a cave. But I thought I should bring that up in case any of you guys encounter it. I'm warning you ahead of time. Now, let's talk about deductions. Oh, wait. Before I talk about the deductions, jumping right back to the Riviera wire wheels. As I said, he falsely reported it as arrived damaged, which it didn't. I showed the customer service rep when I called in to complain. He agreed with me, like I told you last week. What I don't understand, why can't there be a button, a small button, that says dispute this claim on the return? In which case, if we disputed it, it would go right to eBay. Anybody with half a brain would look at it and decide in our favor. This has been going on for over 8 years. And quite frankly, it upsets me that they won't address problems like this. But as far as the double dipping with promoted listings fee that we talked about last week, they're implementing that in 2 months. But for 8 years or more, This horrible loophole has been allowed to continue. It's definitely a double standard, okay? Definitely a double standard. Let's move on to the next topic, when to take a deduction. In last week's video, I told you a story about a return that concerned me greatly. Guys, you have to admit something. I have been on eBay for 27 years, and I can spot certain trends. Please trust me on certain things. As we go through this video, it'll become clear. So in last week's video, I told you about a guy who sent me a best offer on some alloy wheel center caps of $40. I accepted the offer, shipped him the items. After he got them, instead of opening a return, he bought the wrong size, of course, he contacted me through messages and said, I need to return these, which I thought was weird. I ignored him. He has one of those long dormant accounts that hasn't bought anything on eBay in 10 years, 000 across the board. A day or two later, he opened an item not received case. That's when I really started getting nervous, because he just told me they didn't fit. Now he's saying he never got them. I responded to the case, and as soon as I did, he closes the case. Now he opens a return request. Wrong size doesn't fit. But what really shocked me was he put them in the mail the very next day. That has never happened to me in my 27-year eBay career. Usually the customers wait a week, sometimes 3 weeks to ship them back, so I knew right away. The warning bells were going off. Something bad's going to happen, and something bad did happen. I got the caps back, and I'm going to show you them. I sent him 4, okay? 2 came back fine and dandy. The other 2, look, can you see? I don't know if you can see this. The clips are all broken off. See what he did? He tried to force these onto a wheel that they're not designed for. Broke them. Broke 2 of them. Oh, okay. So, when it came time to give him his money back, I took a deduction. And I'm going to show you on my phone now what it looks like, because you guys need to see this. This is something you guys need to do, okay? Right? I'm going to hold this up to the... Notice the arrow. See how I took a deduction of $20? It was 4 items for $40. That's $10 each. He broke 2. I deducted $20 for the 2 broken ones, and I'm not bashful about it. I'm proud of it. This has been a topic for discussion, not just here on my channel, but in the Facebook groups. And it bothers me that there are some sellers, not you guys are the best, some sellers that are marshmallows. They're soft and they're weak and they're scared. They're afraid if they take a deduction, which they're entitled to, they're going to get negative feedback. And you know, you might get negative feedback. I might get negative feedback, okay? You can't be scared when you're selling online, all right? You can't. That's what some buyers count on. They prey on the weak, those with no cojones. And it's not going to work, all right? You guys need to stand up for yourselves. I can't do it for you. All right? eBay's not going to do it for you. You got to do it. If you receive an item back that's broken, take that deduction. Because if you don't, you're making it bad for yourself and for your fellow sellers, because buyers know they can get away with it. That's why there's so much scamming now on eBay. And there is, with the returns. With the returns, there's a lot of scamming, and I'm saying it. In the last 26 years, although I always had a lot of returns, I always told you guys my buyers were mostly honest, and they were. That all changed in 2025. The word is out. It all started with Amazon. Amazon bred the scammer mentality, and they encouraged it. And since so many people get away with it on Amazon, they figure they can get away with it on eBay too. In some cases they can, but not always, because the eBay sellers, you guys are a little feistier. You're like me. You'll stand up for yourself. You're not weak, hopefully, and you won't let yourself be taken advantage of. So the word's got to get out there that we're not gonna take it. No, we're not gonna take it. We're not gonna take it anymore. Next topic. Okay, I told you so category. In a previous video, I think it was 2 weeks ago, I told you how I never, ever accept best offers from overseas buyers. I'll never do it until eBay changes their policy because they give them 4 days to pay and paying is optional. Buyers overseas don't have to pay. All right? Just let me clarify this because some of you guys aren't getting it. If they pay, great. If they don't pay, oh, great. That's great too. eBay will not sanction them in any way, and they know it. So I told you the story 2 weeks ago about a guy from Israel who sent me a best offer. First $8, I declined it. Then $12, which I accepted as a test. I figured it's been years and years. Maybe things have changed. And I got it right up the wazoo. Just like always, he didn't pay. Blocked him, relisted the item. Now, earlier this week, I get a best offer of $65 on an item I'm asking $85 for. That's not unreasonable, okay? The item's been listed for a while. It's kind of a dog. It's for a 1973 Cadillac. Please keep that in your mind for now. 1973 Cadillac. I'm about to hit accept on my phone, and I see he's from Israel. Decline. No matter what price he sends me, he's getting declined. A few minutes later, he changes the amount to $70. Decline. He's not getting anything from me ever unless he does the buy it now. I took a screenshot of this particular decline and I sent it to a friend of mine who sells in eBay Motors as well, because that's what a lot of us do. We share screenshots of the worst buyers. And my friend knows all about these overseas buyers. He sells the same stuff as I do, and he has nothing but trouble with them too. He's in total agreement. About 15 minutes go by, and my friend texts me back. He says, take a look at this. He sends me a screenshot. Now, what he has for sale is a 1974 Cadillac item, which is similar but not exact to what I just had. And who do you think sent him a best offer on it? The same slick guy from Israel. I said to my friend, please don't accept it. And you know what my friend says? I was in such a rush, I thought it said he was from Illinois, so I accepted the offer. I said, you idiot, you fool. Didn't you see that you're going to have to wait 4 days to get paid? And he said, yeah, I saw that, but I thought it was a glitch. I said, listen to me, my friend. If he pays you, I'm going to give you all the credit in the world. If he doesn't pay you, when I talk to you on the phone next, I am going to be so cruel. I'm going to break your balls like they've never been broken. He calls me the next night. Guy never paid. He had to close out the thing and relist it. Now, very important. Now, think about this before we go any further. Does it strike you as odd that he sent me a best offer on my 1973 Cadillac item, then a few minutes later sends my friend a best offer on a 1974 Cadillac item? My theory is that if I had accepted the offer, there's no way I would have been paid, because not only do these people never pay, these overseas buyers, however, after he saw my 73 Cadillac, he saw my friend's 74 Cadillac. Think about it. There's no reason for him to buy both. They do fit the same, but they look different. How many people do you think this guy from Israel sent best offers to just this week alone and never paid? All right, think about it. Now, he did it to me. I wouldn't accept it. All right? He sent it to my friend who got stung. And who knows who else he sent it to. The moral of the story, and I've said it before and I've proved it to you, for the love of God, please don't accept any offers from any overseas buyers, no matter what country they're in, until eBay requires immediate payment. I don't think they ever will, because they're too worried about getting their extra 2% commission from the promoted listings cash grab that we talked about last week. You know, I've heard a ton of eBay sellers complaining about this cash grab. And hey, I get it. It's bad news. We are all suffering. Question: if you could change one of these two things, which would you as an eBay seller change? Number one, eBay would repeal the cash grab announcement they made last week. Or number two, eBay would retool the returns process to give all sellers the opportunity to dispute false item not as described claims. Those are the only two choices. Me, I would choose the latter. All right? I would choose the protection. I want to be protected against these pieces of crap. You know, if I have to pay a little more, I have to pay a little more. Okay? It's the way of the world. But I hate scammers. And something's got to be done about it, because it's getting way out of hand. Now I'm going to talk about 30-day returns. This wasn't exactly something I was planning on talking about this week. However, yesterday or the day before, I happened to be watching a video where another eBay seller was talking about it, and the guy made perfect sense. All right? Perfect sense. eBay requires us, or kind of pushes us, into accepting returns for 30 days. Now, I think that's way too long, but like I've said before, it's their sandbox. I'm a guest. I'm playing in it. I will play by their rules. 30 days, I'll take the returns. And you know I get plenty of them. 30 days means 30 days. Not 35, not 40. How many of you get requests for returns after your 30-day grace period? And if so, what do you do? I want you to type only those of you who actually do accept 30-day returns and do get the occasional request. Me, I decline every one of them. Every one of them. And like I wrote in a video a few weeks ago, it's the best freaking feeling there is. All right? There is no better feeling that I know of, but if there is, you can tell me about that too. What bums me out, what also bums out the person who made the video that I'm talking about, was eBay tries to throw a guilt trip on us. When we get the return request, they say something like, you are not required to take a return because it's past your return window. However, we strongly suggest you take the return to give a buyer a good eBay experience. Right here, baby. You want a good experience? Hey, why don't you, the company, give the buyer back the money? Leave us little guys alone. Okay? That guilt trip doesn't fly with me. Automatic decline on every one of them. Now, again, we got to figure in the marshmallow factor. The soft sellers, the scaredy cats, who are afraid of getting negative feedback. There is a very good chance the buyer will give you retaliatory negative feedback. Now, depending on what he says, you may be able to get it removed. Last year, I think I had 3 out of 4 cases where I got unfair negative feedback when I would not take the return after 30 days. It happened 4 times. 3 other people negged me. Getting them removed, 2 of them was a snap. Very easy. Got them. It was just a slam dunk. 1 of them was tough. I really had to beat the drums on that, and it took me 2 or 3 months. I'm not going to lie to you. 2 or 3 months. I exhausted just about every channel, but then I got lucky at the very end and I got that one removed. So my point here is, guys, please don't be scared. All right? To impress this upon you, because I think this is very important, all right? Not just the eBay returns after 30 days, but the deduction tool. The deduction tool I spoke of a few minutes ago is to be used when an item is sent back to you broken or not as described, or if you sell somebody a brand new item and they rip it open, take it out, and now you can't sell it as new anymore because it's an open box or open package. Please take the return. Now I'm going to do something now that a lot of you guys may find offensive, and that's too bad. I have to do this to give you guys a memorable lesson, and it's something you need to take to heart. For the first time in my 27 years, for the first time in my YouTube career, I think I started in 2007, I am going to sing to you. That's right, I came prepared. I'm going to sing what I call the deduction song. And I'm not doing this to be a dick. I'm not doing this to put you through misery. I'm doing this to instill an important fact, something that you'll never forget. I want it to be embedded in your memory. So that being said, the words are all mine. You may recognize the melody from something when you were young, or maybe you won't. But here is my rendition of the deduction song. And it's going to be a cappella, of course. Deduction, deduction, watch your function. Keeping them eBay scammers away. Deduction, deduction, watch your function. Keeping them eBay scammers away. Cha-cha. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Thank you. Thank you. I'm sorry. I apologize that I had to resort to that. But if that's what it takes to get your attention, well, then I'm not sorry. Remember, with deductions and with returns over 30 days, you guys have to stand up for yourself. I can't do it. eBay can't do it. All right? This one's on you. All the responsibility is yours. As far as my most egregious offer, egregiously low offer, I woke up to this one this morning. I want to show it to you. I have an item listed for $55 plus shipping. All right? It's a good item. It's a popular item. I want to show you this ridiculous offer. Take a look at this. He offers me $10 on a $55 item. I responded, obviously, by declining it. I also told him I was blocking him and he couldn't do a thing about it. And since I'm going over screenshots now, let me show you this one, just in case you get one. Remember we talked about that guy earlier in the video from Israel? The buyer will have 4 days to pay. Not in my world, he won't. Either you pay today or you don't get the item. That's the way it works. Simple as that. Like I said, I just don't get it. I don't get how eBay can change policies as quickly as 2 months, like the promoted listing grab, but they can't make overseas buyers pay right away for over 8 years, and they can't fix the gaping hole in the returns flow, also over 8 years. You know, it is a double standard in my opinion. It's not right. But, as bad as it is, I have to be honest, eBay is still the best place to sell your items. Amazon is a hellhole. You should see some of the postings I see from disgruntled sellers in some of the groups. It's just unbelievable. And the amount of returns. You should see the UPS store. They have lines out the door, just Amazon returns. I'm one of the few people that ever goes in there to actually ship something. Everybody else is returning stuff. It is absolutely wild. Guys, that's basically all I want to talk about right now as far as eBay is concerned. I think I've given you some fodder with which you can make some comments on. I think right now, I have a few minutes, I'm going to tell you another life story. And this one goes back to the 1970s, when I was about 12 or 13 years old. And this one's in grammar school. And I'm going to talk briefly about history class. I've touched on this in the past, but I'm going to expound on it a little bit more. So, I went to Catholic school, in grammar school and high school too. But we're talking about grammar school now. And we always had either female teachers, lay teachers, or nuns. But in 7th grade, they hired a man, a guy about 30 years old, to be a history teacher. And I was in 7th grade, and I got him. He was my history teacher, my homeroom teacher too. And he was a really good teacher. I've talked about him before. He made the topic so freaking interesting. We did interactive games in school, like the boys versus the girls, where we had to talk about famous events and guess the answer to a question. And he even took us on a class trip up to Tarrytown, New York, Sleepy Hollow. 10 out of 10. Best teacher ever for history. In 8th grade, he was my history teacher again for the first month. Everything started off okay until he did something that no teacher should ever do to a kid. And I'm not even going to get into that because this story is not about that. So when the word of what happened got out, eventually they fired him. They didn't fire him right away. I don't know what they were holding back on, but they did fire him. And we were left without a history teacher. And it was like a month or two into the new school year. So the principal would come in each morning and give us an assignment. The same thing. She would list it on the board, divide us into groups, and make us work with 3 or 4 other kids or 5 kids, and then she would leave us there to our own delight, and we would just have to do group work. She would go back to the main office, and she would do her principal work, because she had to run the school. She really didn't have time to be a history teacher. And sometimes she would come back and check on us, and sometimes she wouldn't. And it was amazing. This went on for 3 weeks, at least. 3 weeks of having no teacher. We all had to do our own work, group work, complete assignments. I'm not sure if she even graded them or not. Anyhow, she finally manages to find a replacement teacher. Well, I'm going to call Miss Smith. Miss Smith was young, in her 20s, and wore really short skirts. And she was kind of like one of those 1970s hippie chicks. And I always wondered if the principal was kind of upset about the way she dressed, but everything was fine with me. And she was a good teacher. And I remember the day that the principal brought her in to show the class, this is going to be our new teacher. And Miss Smith said to the principal, "Oh, great, great. Do I start tomorrow?" Miss Smith said, "No, you're starting right now." And that was that. And she was a good history teacher and gave us projects that were interesting, and she made the class interesting. And we had to do, one of the requirements was we had to do a school play. She wrote several topics on the board, historical events. And the idea was you had to pick one topic and get in a group with other kids and act out that topic. Now, I'm not sure how this came about. I swear to God, I don't remember. But I was one of the few kids in the class that wound up being in 2 plays. I actually had 2 plays. I was in the Scopes trial, where I played John Scopes, the history teacher. He taught about evolution. I'm sure you remember that case. And the second one I was in was the St. Valentine's Day Massacre, where I just portrayed a regular gangster. And the plays were absolutely so good that they asked us to perform them on Parents' Night. When, the parents come in and do the teacher meetings. So we performed those plays, not only in school, in the auditorium for the school, but for the parents as well. It was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed those plays. I remember one kid raised their hand and said to the teacher, "Suppose you're in 2 plays. Do you get credit for 2 plays?" She said, "No, you only get credit for 1. I'm not sure how I wound up being in 2. I think what happened is a group of kids was doing the Scopes trial, and they asked me to be in their play, and I agreed. Then a second group was doing St. Valentine's Day Massacre, and they wanted me in their play too, so I figured, what the heck? It's the only acting I've ever done. I've never done any more acting, and that's probably a good thing. But anyway, guys, I'm Crazy New York Driver. You're not. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Any comments, questions, and concerns, you know what to do. Hope you make a ton of money on eBay this week. Rock on and peace. One more thing. The beginning of the week was okay with eBay, but in the middle of the week, sales absolutely stopped. I had numerous people contacting me saying, "What's going on? Is there something wrong? Is eBay down?" Nobody made any money. I think it was Tuesday and Wednesday. So if you noticed a big slow up Tuesday and Wednesday, you're not alone. Anyway, thanks for watching. Peace.